Would you like smiley sauce with that?
Lester, just stop it!
No, no. You don't get to tell me what to do. Ever again.
It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Osgood.
Kevin Spacey won an Oscar, his second, for his starring role in the 1999 film American Beauty. These days, he's the star of an online series, House of Cards, playing a politician you cross at your own peril. Anthony Mason has prepared this Sunday profile.
Everything hinges on the next few minutes.
If ambition and power are the lifeblood of the nation's capital, then Frank Underwood may be the ultimate political vampire.
It only takes 10 seconds to crush a man's ambitions. I need to take care I protect mine.
The Machiavellian hero of House of Cards, who'll stop at nothing to climb the power ladder, is played with delicious deviousness by Kevin Spacey.
I will make that hypocrisy hurt.
You look like you're having a lot of fun.
I am. Bill Clinton the other night said, I always wanted to be in your profession, now you're getting into mine.
But the Emmy-nominated series was a huge gamble. Netflix spent more than $100 million to order 26 episodes without ever seeing a pilot.
People thought we were nuts.
You obviously didn't think you were nuts.
I didn't think we were nuts.
Of all the things I hold in high regard, rules are not one of them.
And audiences have fallen for Spacey's conniving character, somehow appealing because he lets us all in on his plan.
I will not allow her to sell my goods when she cuts me out of the profits.
People think that direct address was invented by Ferris Bueller, but in fact, it wasn't. It was invented by Shakespeare.
Frank Underwood is based in part on Shakespeare's Richard III, who also directly addresses his audience.
Thus I, by thy advice and thy assistance, is King Richard seated.
Because I had the experience of doing Richard III just before I started shooting House of Cards, boy, did I learn about that relationship.
And this word love, which graybeards call divine, be resident in men like one another, but not in me.
To look in the eyes of audiences and see the kind of naughty glee that they got with being on the inside, the audience becomes your co-conspirators.
Spacey has just produced a new documentary called Now about the worldwide tour of Richard III. The 54-year-old actor says his heart has always been on the stage.
Bloody will be thy end.
This is where I learn my craft. This is where I am at my best.
The son of a secretary and a technical writer, Spacey fell in love with the theater in junior high school. At 13, he attended a workshop with Jack Lemmon in Los Angeles.
After I did a scene, he walked up to me and put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "That was a touch of terrific. No, you're a born actor."
That must have been pretty extraordinary when you were 13 to have him say that to you.
Yeah. Life-changing.
Hi, guys. How are you?
We went back with Spacey to Chatsworth, the California high school from which he graduated.
When I do workshops now with kids, I see myself. I was that person.
I'm going to be going into film and acting when I grow up.
Good. When I grow up? When is that? When are you planning that?
I have to get a little bit taller.
You have to get a little bit taller. Good luck with that. But even if you don't, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how tall Tom Cruise is?
No.
Yeah, he's as tall as this desk. Hey, look at me. My class picture. I think I'm wearing my father's tie.
You have very wide lapels.
Hey, man, it was the thing. Frightening. Our drama class, 192, is that way.
Spacey transferred here in his senior year to study drama.
This is where we tended to rehearse a lot, particularly the scenes that we would do for the Fall Drama Festival or the Shakespeare Festival on this stage.
Fellow actors Val Kilmer and Mayor Winningham were classmates. In the school's production of The Sound of Music, Spacey would play Captain Von Trapp to Winningham's Maria.
We had quite a following, oddly enough, for high school theater, so good luck.
Spacey spent an hour talking with the drama class about Shakespeare.
I played Laertes in Polonius. I got to die twice.
You get to die twice?
Yeah.
Did you die very differently twice?
Yes.
Good. I'm going to sit here. Is that all right?
He asked one group to perform a scene.
Star my sometime daughter.
hence and avoid my sight.
And that was terrific work. Very connected, very clear.
Countdown. 5.
And then
3.
he co-anchored the school newscast.
I'm Sabrina Burse.
And I'm Kevin Spacey.
Are you ready to get this started?
This is
Chatsworth Charter News.
From Chatsworth High, Spacey would head to the prestigious Juilliard School in New York.
David Hyde Pierce was here. Val Kilmer, of course, was here. Ving Rhames was in my class. Elizabeth McGovern was in my class. Kelly McGillis was in my class.
You were pretty ambitious right from the beginning.
Sure. Nothing wrong with ambition, baby.
You went through a period that you yourself described as what, the attitudinals?
Yeah, the attitudinals. I became a bit of a jerk.
Why?
I was clearly not good enough. The level of my arrogance did not match the level of my talent. by a large measure. I'm only very grateful that A, it happened, and B, it didn't last that long.
What knocked you out of it?
A number of people who told me I was a Probably can't say that on Sunday morning.
He'd land his first film role in 1986, playing a subway mugger stalking Meryl Streep in Heartburn. In 1995, his performance as the crippled conman Verbal Kint in The Usual Suspects earned him an Oscar.
My mother always thought that I was going to be famous, thought that I was going to win Oscars. In fact, I believe I accepted the Oscar as a ketchup bottle many a times in front of my mother in the kitchen. I'd like to thank the Academy, I said, with the ketchup bottle.
Stay away from me.
Just 4 years later, in 1999, his role as the depressed suburban father, Lester Burnham, in American Beauty, would win him his second Oscar.
1970 Pontiac Firebird, the car I've always wanted, and now I have it. I rule.
And at a point in time when a lot of actors would have been...
Gravy train.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
You
ride
said, I'm
this."
out of here. Why?
Something was unsettled in me. Something, I was like... After American Beauty came out and the response to that film was so incredible, I was starting to feel like, okay, so now what? Am I going to spend the next 10 years doing what I often see happen with actors who get to the place that I got to, which is that they start doing a lot of movies they probably shouldn't have done?
Instead, at the peak of his Hollywood career in 2003, Spacey abruptly moved to London to become artistic director of the Old Vic Theatre. He spent more than a decade running the company there, turning down any film role that required more than 8 weeks of shooting.
Do you think it hurt your film career in any way?
Every now and then I remember I would read things where people said my career was over and that, I'd run away from Hollywood. But I'll tell you this, I don't think I could have picked a better decade to go run a theater than the decade we just had in terms of what I missed.
You didn't want to be an Avenger?
They didn't ask.
You're known for doing a lot of these complicated, somewhat demonic characters. But you had this whole other life in the beginning as a stand-up comic.
Yeah. And I still love doing stuff like that. I mean, I love doing impressions. When I was very young, I learned very early on that I could make my mother laugh.
Yeah.
And that was one of the greatest sounds I ever heard.
Were you a good comic?
I was a good impressionist.
Case in point, his President Clinton.
You know that House of Cards? I love that show. 99% of what they do on that show is real. The 1% they got wrong, you could never get an education bill passed that fast.
Would you do comedy just to change the public perception?
Love to. It's a funny thing where people in Hollywood have in their head that isn't what they offer me. I don't get offered those kind of films. They're very stupid. They should offer me these films.
There is no solace above or below.
Till they do, Kevin Spacey is relishing playing the ruthless Francis Underwood.
I pray to myself, for myself.
On his relentless campaign to reach the White House and rule the world.
I'm having the time of my life working on it. It's a complete joy. And ultimately, of course, there's Pope Francis as well.